Shalom, giving all praise to YAHAWASHI, QADASH. I hope you can hear me with this background noise. Give me a second. Let me see if I can quiet this down. Giving all praise to YAHAWASHI, QADASH. Now a thun called HALAL YAHAWASHI, QADASH. Anyway, I'm going to title this video Understanding First Chronicles 2, verse 34, 35. So the 34th verse and the 35th verse, which reads, Now SHAM had no sons, but daughters. And SHAM had a servant, an Egyptian, whose name was YAHAWAH. And that's a Hebrew name. The first clue, this is an Egyptian with a Hebrew name. And SHAM gave his daughter to YAHAWAH, his servant, to wife, and she bore him a tie. And let me go into this. Let me go into this individual. Let me take this word out. And the reason why I'm doing this, let me open up go to another page here. Let me do it this way. That's an I. Okay, let me go to King James. And I'm going to show you why I'm going through this. Okay, let me do it this way. This is the son that came from this union of an Egyptian and an Israelite woman, because the father, SHAM, didn't have any sons but daughters. So here's his name in the Hebrew. YAHAWAH. It says Alpatun, a Judite grandson of SHAM, the Jahamalite, by daughter HALAL, whom he gave in marriage to YAHAWAH, which is a so-called Egyptian with a Hebrew name, his Egyptian slave. Egyptian could be talking about the land that he came out of, just like Uriah the Hittite. Uriah the Hittite was an Israelite that was living in the land of the Hittites. Because remember, the Israelites took over Canaan, so they still had those ancient names. Because did not they take over all of the land of Canaan, which includes Hittite? So Uriah the Hittite was an Israelite. I'm saying it again, so it can sink in. Uriah the Hittite was an Israelite. Beersheba was also an Israelite. It doesn't go into detail as to what tribe they came out of. his Egyptian slave. Remember, an Egyptian could be an Egyptian can also be someone that comes from the land of Egypt. Remember, the Israel scattered. When we left out of Egypt, Israel was scattered in other lands. That's what the whole law of the stranger and the right of return is all about. It says his Egyptian slave, now this man is around other Israelite men. So you mean to tell me not one Israelite man wanted to get with his daughter? And then you have the law of Hebrews selling Hebrews into captivity. You had Hebrew men that enslaved other Hebrew men, but it was for 7 years. And then they were let free. If it was a daughter that a Hebrew man sold to another Hebrew man as a servant, he can either give the daughter, which is his servant, which he purchased from another Hebrew man, give it to his son, or he can deal with the woman himself, whether she likes it or not. Okay, woman didn't have any say in the matter. If the father said, you're going to get with this man because his father, we got a business thing going, so I'm going to, and this is what the super elite do. They marry within themselves, man, them rich families to keep the family rich. It says his Egyptian slave, his grandson, Zabad, was one of David's mighty warriors. So come on. It's obvious that this guy is an Israelite that was born in Egypt, the land of Egypt. Remember, we were scattered. It says one of the lion-faced warriors of Gad, captain of the host, who joined David in the wilderness, the second son of King. They're giving you examples of how many times his name comes up. So now, let's come back. So according to this, his descendant, his grandson, Zabad, was one of David's mighty warriors. This guy, Zabad, was not, and although it doesn't go into it, and it doesn't go into the principal guy. Let me come back over here. I'm getting these names all mixed up. Okay, that's the son of that. I'm sorry, that's the son of YAHAWAH, which is right here in the 35th verse. 1 Chronicles 2, verse 35. And Shashan, the father, gave his daughter to YAHAWAH, which he was known as an Egyptian slave, his servant to, it says servant, to wife, and she bare him a tie. Then you have the you got over here, Maachah, Caleb's concubine, bare Sheba and Terhana. And this shows you that you had Israelite men that had that got with concubines and had children by them. Did that make them not an Israelite? Now, if you want to get technical, Paul Kersey asked a question, went into the comments section about the Israelite men marrying Israelite women, having children, and the children speak half Hebrew and half the language of the heathen, which that's what that's what that's what they went off on. You know, they fell in love with these women. If you have a concubine, you use it to have children, which come out of your seed, which are Israelites. Okay, let me go down here. So let me look up the word concubine. The word is payalagash. Concubine, paramour, concubine, paramour. Let's see what information I can get out of this. There's 37 verses and there's 37 times concubine comes up in 35 verses. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts. So was Abraham dealing with women of outside the seed of the Hebrews? Yes, he was. And it came to pass when Israel dwelt, or Jacob dwelt in that land, that Reuben, Rabban, went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. So Bilhah, how many sons did she have that were of the tribes? And Israel heard it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. So I don't have to explain anymore. So the question is this guy an actual Egyptian? No, he had to be an Israelite. Doesn't go into detail. So I just want you to hear this. I'm gonna see where the spirit takes me. I really didn't have nothing planned, so it might be short. Now, most high willing, I'll come back and do another video, because I remember when this came up when a Vocab visited us in New York, and they pulled out that particular scripture, and I forget what I said. I believe I said, well, I said he had to be an Israelite. He had to be an Israelite, because you got to go back to that discussion that we had. What was that, back in 2019? And he took a year to put the video out. He held it. Anywhere else he went in New York, when he did the New York visit with his crew, he pretty much immediately put it up. And we're waiting for when he was going to put up the video that he did with us. It took a solid year and change, maybe a little less than a year, but it took almost a year, if not more than a year, for him to finally put something together and put it up, because he had to do a lot of chopping up, you know. But so the one thing that they had, the one weapon that they had, was this individual laying with Sheshan's daughter, which they say he was an Egyptian servant. He was obviously an Israelite that was living in the land of Egypt. Remember, Israel was scattered. Now, since I'm speaking on that, what comes to mind is Acts 8 chapter, the Ethiopian eunuch. It's obvious that the Ethiopian eunuch was an Israelite, because he was reading out of scriptures, and then he was in Jerusalem, in that land, and the Palestine, the land of Israel, for the what? For the 3 times that an Israelite man supposed to come, to pass over the tabernacles and the weeks. So they came out and they camped out. They were out there for a couple of months, and then they had to come back 7 months later. So, okay, so this is an argument right here. Captain Tazaryach and Wack 100 versus Jewish community on Clubhouse. Okay, let me come over here. Let me let you listen to it so you can watch this. If I remember, I'll leave the link in the description box. But if you go to Cross the Line Radio, and this is 8 days ago, that's the title. But like I said, if I remember, I'll leave the link in the description box. So, you guys, that's why you got to constantly study. Anytime a Christian says something, you got to go back to it. And like I said, it doesn't say that he actually goes back to the seed of Mizraim. He's not. It doesn't say he's a Mizraimite. Neither does it say he was a Judite, a Gadite, or whatever. So I'm gonna let you listen to it. And Captain Tazaryach handled it well, as he always does. But I didn't see the whole thing. I saw some of it, some of this video. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing. And then this clown, faithful to the devil, comes up and he's browbeating these guys. You guys are a bunch of fools. That don't come around. If we're such foolish people, and you establish that we're foolish people, we don't know what we're talking about, why keep coming around? So let's listen. Let's listen.
Wake it up.
Now, according to the science, and the reason why I bring this up because when God feeling gorilla Hebrew,
I'm coming back to the very beginning.
Like shut the Bible because you can't say a lot. I just said five. Like shut the fuck up. So,
shut the hell up, man.
Science. I told you that he would be a Muslim.
Faithful is a complete asshole. When he can't get his way, he curses and he gets mad and he gets upset. Like I said, according to you guys, you proved this wrong. So why don't you just move on to to Buddha? Why don't you move on? Why don't you move on to these witch covens? Why don't you go to some abortion clinics? Why didn't Vocab and his crew go down to Greenwich Village? And I said that. I said, why don't you go down to Greenwich Village? Because they're set up to come against us. That's just and I can't prove it, but either they work for the small hats or we know that they're apologists for the small hats because Vocab believes that the small hats are the people. They're not the people. Maybe because he's a small hat. He is a German.
Repeat it. Hey, brother, let's respect Cap on the floor.
I got you.
All right, go ahead, man. No doubt.
You can't put science with it because you can't just say E1, B1 should be in Esau and Jacob because if we all come from Noah, we should all have the same marker.
Wake it up.
According to the science, and the reason why I bring this up because,
and he's right. We all have. Let's use the word DNA. DNA. The Esau has the same DNA that we have because we have a common father, Isaac, and then Abraham. But what did the Most High say that made us different? The Spirit. There's a two nations shall come out of that womb, and two manner people shall be two types of people. Spiritually shall be separated from thy bowels. In music, Jake does everything on the 2/4 beat. Esau does everything on the 1/3 beat. Listen to both musics. Listen to both genre of music. Rock and roll, acid rock, and then you got hip hop, R&B, and it's rhythmic. Watch a Jake dance. They dance rhythm. Even the little babies, they dance with rhythm. You see the rhythm in the baby. So you're not taught rhythm the 2-4, it's in you. Either you have it or you don't. I went to this one club when I was a kid. I was 20-something years old, and I danced with this Edomite chick long before I came to Israel. So I'm dancing with her, and she's saying, "Wow, I want to learn how to dance like that." And I told her, I said, "Look," he said, "you can't learn how to dance like this." I said, "Either you got it or you don't." And she put her head down, you know. But watch Edomites. If you see an Edomite that's very rhythmic, chances are that's an Israelite that looks like an Edomite. Remember, speckled bird. Anyway, so let's listen to some more.
Godfrey and Gorilla Hebrew had a debate, and they brought up all that view, and I had to do some research. So we're talking to Godfrey and Brothers of the Light. Whatever your marker is, that's where your start is, the father's side. If it's an E1, B1, and a separate this, you can't match that up with the Bible. You're going to have a conflict.
Exactly.
Because Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. They should all have the same marker. So let's not do the whole science.
Exactly.
Ultimately, they should all have the same marker because they go back to one man, which is Noah. Scriptures say we all came out of the blood of Adam. All nations came out of Noah's 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. All nations, all people that you see came out of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. But all nations have different spirits, different rhythms, so you can understand.
The brother said that was right, and he called Faithful out on it. He said that Faithful was going to talk about inheritance, and that's what Numbers the 27th chapter is talking about. It's talking about inheritance. But when they're talking about where our covenant comes from, what tribe you
I got to go back into that, do a video on that, on inheritance and how a man doesn't have any sons. He has a daughter, and she might be of the tribe of Reuben, but she gets with somebody from the tribe of Judah. The inheritance has to stay with her for the tribe's sake. That goes into, there's a whole nother subject of if YAHAWASHI had a back and forth with the wicked scribes and Pharisees concerning, they pulled out the law concerning if a woman has a man, the man dies, leaving her with no seed, then the brother comes in, he dies, and then the 7 brothers. Obviously, this never happened. What's the term? Hypothetical situation, if I'm saying it right. So you had finally the 7th brother, he dies having no seed. So who is she in the what did they say? They said did they say the resurrection? And the Lord said, there's no marrying and giving in marriage. And I believe the word was resurrection. I'm not going to go to it, but what he was talking about in the spiritual realm. When you're in the spiritual realm, there's no sex in the spiritual realm. When you come back on the earth, you can't say, "Well, that was my wife in the past life. You committed." No. You start all over again. The seven men actually come back, and the woman comes back, and she gets with maybe the 7th brother, or maybe somebody completely different. You can't cry reincarnation. I mean, you can't cry adultery. All right. And I'm gonna do a video. If I may do it too. Do this too. Go through this. Excuse me. The term fornication, mainly in the New Testament. I was watching a video with one of the IUIC men. He was saying fornication is when you lay down with a woman, a man. You got to get mad. No, fornication is adultery. That's what fornication is. It's from the Greek word porneia. That means if a woman lays with a man, then lays with another man while that man still lives, that's fornication. And the punishment is death. But the Lord said, leave her, because we were under Roman rule. What is that? Matthew 19, I believe. So they asked him a question concerning, Moses said you can get divorced. And he said, yeah, because they were wicked as hell. That's what the Lord said. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation, but the word fornicate, get your meaning of your words right, man. The word fornication in the New Testament goes back to the Greek word porneia, which means illicit sexual act, meaning first and foremost adultery. And then you go into bestiality and homosexuality, but fornication means adultery. So let's listen.
That is always from the Father. Get around that. So when you say, why is the so-called Jew doing this today? And we ask you for the biblical example, you can't give it. You can't. You give one exception. Even if I don't argue, for the sake of argument, what you pulled out in Chronicles about the so-called Egyptian, who was not an Egyptian, but even if I don't argue, you're talking about one so-called exception. But that is not the norm. Even the criteria says if we have no daughter, no, they don't just say if we don't have no daughter. It says if we have no daughter.
So Captain Tazaryach said that's an exception. That guy was an Israelite. Can't prove it. There's no scripture. It doesn't do a word search on this guy. They'll give you limited information. They'll give you was that First Chronicles? Let me go back to it so I can get it right. First Chronicles 2:34 and 35. You go trace a guy's name, it's not going to give you too much information. So it's obvious that he had to be Israelite, because there was this like a lot situation with his two daughters? You had several Israelite men around you. You know? So it's obvious this guy was an Israelite. Now, let's say he wasn't an Israelite. Well, guess what? That seed that he had, he had a son, his son had a son, so forth, up until now, he still has the spirit of an Egyptian in him. If that's the case, and guess what? He's going to go right back. He's going to go right in under the Israelites, under the nation of the people of Mizraim. Not hard. So he either way. Let's say he's in. Let's go with faithful to God. Let's go with that. If he's actually Egyptian, his line, when he comes back and goes into the kingdom of heaven, he's going to be under the Israelites. If he's actually an Israelite, he's going to go back being an Israelite. We're going to find out what tribe he's from: tribe of Judah, tribe of Gad, tribe of Issachar, or whatever. So this argument really goes nowhere, because we don't know if he's an actual Israelite. Like I said, we believe he had to be an Israelite. The father would not give his daughter to a damn heathen. There were other Israelites. I said it again. I'm saying it one more time. I said it 3 times. There were Israelite men all over the place. What, they wouldn't like her? No, I don't like her. Her nose is too big. No, he was an Israelite. So let's move on.
He shall give the inheritance to his brother. If he don't have no brother, he shall give the inheritance unto his
court. What's the term in court? Oh, damn. The defense lawyer throws doubts, right? Damn, I can't think of the term, the law term. But the guy could be pretty much, they can have all kind of evidence on him, but then there's counter evidence from the defense lawyer that lends doubt to it. So if there's enough doubt, and the doubt is in beyond, the term is beyond a reasonable doubt. So if a witness says no, he didn't do it, another witness says no, he didn't do it, he proves he's at a restaurant when the murder happens. He's at a restaurant 30 miles away, and there's a camera of the restaurant he's eating. And it's time stamped. I learned that from Bishop Nate. It was time stamped. So that's an alibi, right? He proved that there was 2 witnesses that said you didn't do it. They could be lying. A police officer might doubt. I don't know. He might have not did it. It could be. Well, that's called reasonable doubt. So if you have reasonable doubt, you throw it out. You. That's based upon dismissal. You're going to dismiss the case or acquit the person because of reasonable doubt. All right. So either we deal with this or we throw it out. Like I said, we don't know what his line back. There's no information on this guy where he actually goes back to. Does he go back to the seed of Mizraim, one of the children of Ham, or does he go back to an Israelite? It makes sense based upon the circumstance that he was an Israelite that was born in Egypt. That was a servant of another Hebrew. Going back to, what is that? Was that Exodus 20, if I'm not mistaken? 20 or 21. I've been through that a million times. Let's listen to a little bit more.
His father. If his father don't have no brother, he give it to the next kinsman of the family. So it wasn't something that they just isolated for a woman. They isolated it for a man that did not have a seed to pass his inheritance to. The seed was so important that if a man died without a seed, what is the law? The law of a brother. Where if that man has a brother, what does he do? He goes and sleeps with their woman to preserve seed for the brother.
Exactly.
That's how important the seed is. So you can't now in 2022 say you're a Jew because of your mother, because of a woman.
The whole argument with these small hats is they go by the matrilineal line, the mother's line. And I believe when you watch the rest of this video, they say, well, they changed it. I believe it was 70 AD. Well, do we have to change with them? They obviously went off. And that goes back to if I'm not mistaken, it goes back to the Talmud. Deacon Hakar could do a video on that if he's watching this, because he has those books. I'm not going to go buy them books. Let Deacon Hakar, let him be the expert. We're going to have to go to Deacon Hakar to get the answers of what the Talmud says about this and the Talmud says about that. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, also the Kibra Negas, which you got these Benjaminites that are Rastafarians, they go by a book called the Kibra Negas. And you know what's in the Kibra Negas? Your line is based upon, which is really super confusing, is based upon matrilineal and patrilineal, if I said that right. Sometimes it's the father, sometimes it's the mother. And then this chick, Makita, the Queen of Sheba, she was a fucking hoe. That's where you get the word queen. When you women call yourself queen, one of the definitions is queen is a hoe. So so you got to know your words, man. You throwing out these words, you got to know your words.
Because it does not match up biblically. The Egyptians was not trying to kill the firstborn women. They was trying to kill the firstborn men. We're not from the tribe. What tribe is Dinah from? Who are the Dinaites? There ain't no such thing as a Dinaite.
Yeah, Dinah. She had to. She was the daughter of Jacob. So obviously, if she got with another nation, but what she could have did was got with the next of kin. You know, one of Laban's son, or one of, you know, to come back into the lineup of Israel. So is Dinah Israelite? Of course she did, because she came back through that line, you know, the spirit. But if she had children with Mizraimite, then that child is not an Israelite.
Today. And that's
what she would be a Hebrew if her father was a Hebrew. You would agree, correct? If her father was a Hebrew, she would be a Hebrew. Yes, but you guys interjected.
And that's true. If her father's a Hebrew, she would be a Hebrew. Dana, she was a Hebrew. She was a Jacobite, an Israelite. The name was changed to Israel. But if she had children with another nation, those children were not Israelites. No such thing as half Israelite and half heathen.
You won't let him finish. Yo, you won't let nobody finish. Didn't I tell you? This is why I don't entertain.
Yeah, you're getting emotional. Come on, bring it down, man.
Let this play, bro. Let it play. I mean, you know, if you're intimidated by his conversation, just say that.
That's a fact. How you gonna be emotional to get mad when I check the fuck out of you?
No,
not really. You actually making a fool of yourself. Go ahead.
That's why we don't deal with these motherfuckers, man. That's why we don't deal with these clowns. Like I said, they need us. We're the A side. They're the motherfucking U side. They need us. We don't need them. If you're boxing, if I'm training a guy, wins a couple of nationals, here I go with my rant, and I say it's about time for you to turn pro. All right, you done sparred world champions and all that. You know, we're looking to make you champ. When you fight certain people, what you want to do is you want to get high enough in the rankings where you fight the current champion, which is a superstar, which is the A side. You want to fight him, so if you beat him, he no longer is the A side. You're the A side. They got to come at you. Floyd Mayweather. Everybody wanted a piece of Floyd. Shit, I would have fought Floyd. If he gonna give me $10 million to fight him, I'll lose weight and I'll fight his ass for the 10 million. You know? Hey, this guy, damn, what's his name? He's out of Florida, Levite brother boxer. Damn. He had boxing a couple of years. Dark skin brother, somebody help me out. His name Andre, not Andre Ward, but his father was in the martial arts. His brother, his sisters, they all MMA fighters. I can't even and he can cook his ass off. He can cook his ass off. I'll eat his food. I seen him and his woman cook some. I said, man, I'll eat that nigga's food. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it'll come back to me. But anyway, he got the call. I believe that was a 49th fight that Floyd fought. You know what I'm gonna do? Now I'm mad. Give me a second here. I don't need to watch this. I'm gonna put Mayweather. I'm gonna put Mayweather. I'm gonna say Mayweather. Okay, Mayweather. And do this Mayweather. Is he Mayweather? Mayweather verse. Mayweather verse. Damn, why don't it come up? Andre Berto. Andre Berto. He fought Andre Berto, Levi. Okay, Andre Berto. And when he got the fight, he was I think he got 4 million. That was the biggest payday ever. So it's like he hit the lotto. He hit the lotto, man. He had all these friends that hadn't call him. He took one phone and called it a trap phone, because all these motherfuckers that ain't called him, and so-called friends, they ain't called him in years, all of a sudden they blowing up his phone. And he said he trapped all the things. He said, you see how nigga is? And then when he won, I think he got a my back. You know, he was living, man. He said that was the biggest payday he ever got, because Mayweather was the A side and he was, in that case, the B side. When Mayweather fought De La Hoya was the A side, Floyd Mayweather was the B side. When Mayweather beat De La Hoya, he became the A side. That's why motherfuckers were lining up to get him, because that's the big paydays. So that's basically what these guys are doing. We're the A side. That's a video right there. The Hebrew Israelites are the A side, and the Christians they're not even the B side. They're way back there. They're the W side. You know what I mean? Playing around. They're weak. We're not looking, look, brother, I want to challenge you and I'm going to go to your church. No, we don't do all that. We don't need you guys. We're the A side. Remember that.
If you didn't talk, I wouldn't talk. to say to you. I don't like, I don't talk to
Yeah,
you.
go ahead, man.
I appreciate it. So there is no such thing as the tribe of Edom, because it's always been the tribe. And that ain't just an Israelite thing. It's the roots of Edom from the men, the Egyptians from the men, the Ethiopians from the men. Every tribe.
By nature, you are who you are based on your father. Not your talents come from your father, not from your mother. Your phenotype can partially come from your mother if you dark and Jake and the Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter, part of his superstardom is he looks kind of like Italian, but guess what? His father's super dark and his mother's so-called pasty white. You know, so the white people kind of let him in. You know, he's almost a white man. You know, he got the phenotype of the Edomite, but where does the talent of him playing baseball come from? His father.
Was passed down from the men. Now, again, usually when you have this conversation, they try to make it seem like we're being against the women. That's really in 2022 where you have a matriarchal argument and a patriarchal argument. That's not in the Bible, matriarchal versus patriarchal. It's just simply saying, whatever the father is, that's the tribe that you come from.
Which is patriarchal.
So when the Jewish man does that today, it just doesn't match up biblically. So they are not the real Jews according to the Bible. I've not seen any evidence to substantiate the so-called Jewish man. I don't care if you call him Esau, Japheth, whatever you call it, he's not the real Jew according to the Bible. You would have to show me according to the Bible how he's a Jew.
Yeah, so I already did it.
I'd like to go next.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me respond, Dr. Responsible.
No.
What you said, Captain.
He afraid of me right there. You see that?
No, I'm not saying that. Well, he's actually from an outside observer, right? From a pale skin, Yacobian skin bitch like myself. What I see here is he's actually right on this point. I don't see any reason, and the scripture verses that you labeled on this particular point are exceptions to the rule. When there's no men available in the family lineage, that's when it goes to the limit. So
if you give it to me for a second, Dr. Responsible,
but I will say it seems like
he's wrong on that, because that woman, we're dealing with son, we're dealing with men, right? Patrilineal. The woman, there's no Hebrews out there. She gets to an Egyptian, like the Israelite woman with the Egyptian son, the father. Why did he curse the name of the Most High? Because he a different spirit than Israel. He didn't have the spirit of Israel in him, and he wasn't half Israelite. He was a Canaanite whose mother, all a mother is an incubator. That's all she is, a walking, talking incubator.
like he ate you up. So give it.
Not really. That's life.
That's the ground.
So, Dr. Responsible, respectfully. So, if you actually heard the initial argument.
Let Dr.
No, hold on a second. Hold on.
I have the actual story. Basically, you don't have
Hold on, bro. I'm saying this to Dr. Responsible. The initial argument wasn't that I'm arguing for matriarchal descent alone or anything foolish like that. What I said, and if you would have heard,
No such thing as matriarchal descent. The descent is based upon the seed. The seed comes from the man, puts it in the walking incubator, which is the woman. All right.
heard closely, is responding to the gentleman that said, nowhere in the Bible, nowhere will you find matriarchal descent. And I cut him when I went to Numbers 27 and 8, and I went to First Chronicles chapter 2. And that's not the only place. You have a man whose father's from the
Numbers 27 and 8. Let's go to that real quick. I already know where he's going with it with this. Let's go to Numbers 27 and 8. Numbers 27 and 8. And thou shalt speak unto the children of YAHAWAH, saying, if a man die and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. And if he have no daughter, then ye shall give it the inheritance of his brother. Captain Tazaryach went through that. Then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. What does inheritance mean? Let's look up the word. The importance of looking up words. Inheritance. The word there is nachla, possession, property, inheritance, heritage, property, portion, share, inheritance, portion. It's talking about land. Because as you read down, if she's from the tribe of Gad, and there's a Judite man that gets with this woman, the inheritance still stays with her, and because she's from that. Because if that was the case, Judah can say, "Well, let me go get with all the tribe women, and have sons with them, and the land gonna go in our name." And we're gonna have, it's just gonna be called the land of Judah. No, it doesn't work that way. The inheritance is talking about the land. The land, if the man doesn't have a son, the land goes to the daughter. And the land stays with the father that had the daughter. Now, if she's from the tribe of Gad and she gets with another Gadite, which is the smartest thing to do, then it stays with Gad. This is not hard, man. Let's listen to some more. It has nothing to do. Numbers 27:8 has nothing to do with, the woman had a seed with another nation, and therefore this nation's gonna get the kingdom. It has nothing to do with this. It's talking about the land that they sit on, that they build on. Your inheritance starts with your land. That's why we're going to go back to the land of Israel, because that's our inheritance.
The tribe of Judah, but he's called the son of Manasseh because his mother's from Manasseh, named Jair. You have other examples of men who there's lineages being traced through the mother, even though they have a father who's from the tribe of Judah. See, these nincompoops don't realize that if you actually read the Bible, you do have a concept of matriarchal descent. He said there's no concept. So no, I ate him up.
He doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand that, yes, you're going to have women that's going to have sons, or going back to Numbers 27, right? But if she has a son by a man from another nation, let's say the man by another nation is Mizraim or Egyptian, and then his son has a son, they're not going to inherit the land. They're not going to inherit the land, Israel, being that the Egyptians, although they got some Israel DNA in them. This guy doesn't understand it. These Christians don't. That's why I don't like talking to these clowns, man. They're complete clowns. Ultimately, who's going to be in the kingdom? Who's going to be the kings in the kingdom? The Israelites. If there's a guy that looks like an Israelite and found out that his father was an Edomite, you going back. That's what Amos 9 is all about, the sifting, man. Unbelievable.
Because he's saying there was 0 examples, and I gave an example. What he attempted to do was to deviate and say, oh, well, that's just inheritance. That's the exception. It doesn't matter if it's the exception. You said there's no examples. And I, right now, just off the top of the head, gave 2 very clear ones that I can cut you with.
Yeah, you gave those examples, which is good. But that doesn't mean that the son that if a man from another nation, I'm saying it again, got to say it 2 or 3 times, is not going to ultimately be sitting on the throne and a crown on his head in the kingdom of heaven. When it says the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, you're going to have a lot of nations looking like Israelites. But guess what? The angels are going to sift them. Go back to Amos 9.
Plus other ones that I can cut you with to show that you're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about. Both of these.
That's why this man should be a persona non grata. Look that word up. Faithful to God should be a persona non grata. Because look, me and Captain ISUPK, we disagree with certain things, not everything, but certain things. But guess what? If the captain's getting down, I'm down. I'm with the captain. You know, he's saying the right thing. You just don't understand it. You all caught up on the word inheritance. Inheritance, first and foremost, means land. That's why the small had to say that they're the people, because they're on the land. Just because you're on the land doesn't make you the people.
You said there's no matriarchal descent, you nincompoop, and I should
hold on. All right, we're gonna.
Let's look up the word descent. Let's look up the word descent. Bear me for a minute. Let me do this. Let's look up the word descent. Let's hope I spell it right. I'm a lousy speller. Did I spell it right? Maybe I did. Okay, let's go to the NLT. That's decent. Descent. 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 Let's try it this way. Okay, I believe I got it. Descent. I'm sorry, let me go to King James. Let me bring it back. Descent. King James. And when he was come nigh, even now at the descent of the mount, without the, okay, Hebrews 7 verse 3, and I was thinking about that one, without father, talking about Melchizedek, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of years, Alpha and Omega. We know that that's YAHAWASHI. So let's click on that. How did Paul know all this? Because Melchizedek came in the form of YAHAWASHI and showed him. Okay, so let's look at the word descent. The father with the mother, descent. Let's look up the word descent. You get the word gene. Which means one whose descent there is no record of without genealogy, as negative principle. See, they're going by without descent. I want to just deal with the word descent. Let me do it this way. Okay, just descent. King James. Okay, let's do it this way. You know what? I'm sorry. Okay, let me try it this way. Descent. But he whose descent is not counted from them receive tithes of Abraham, bless him, that he had the promises. Okay, whose descent?
Strong's G 1075. Gene Allegea. Gene Allegea.
You heard it. To recount a family's origin and lineage, trace ancestry, to draw one's origin, derive one's pedigree. Derive one's pedigree. Women do not necessarily have the descent. And as far as this conversation, they don't have descent. Like a descent goes back to the word right here, to reckon by generation, to trace in genealogy. The key word is gene, or like in generation, or genealogy, the study of the gene. What does the word gene mean? It goes back to the Latin word rasa, which means seed. Women they don't have seed. The men put the seed in the woman. Woman can't produce a child with another woman. Women, they have to take a sperm from a sperm bank and put it in the woman. That's what the child is created from, the seed, which comes from the man. So if you really want to get technical, woman can't have a seed. Whatever comes out of her womb, the spirit that's in that seed that becomes an infant, that becomes a man, is the spirit of the man. So now, where was I going to go? Origin means eastern. It literally means eastern seed or eastern gene. Oh, pedigree. Let's deal with the word pedigree. Let's do it this way. Numbers should come up. It's not there. Let me go to Numbers. Is it Numbers 8? Numbers 1, if I'm not mistaken. Numbers. Let's try Numbers 1. Okay. 18 verse. Numbers 1, verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their what? Of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upwards by their polls. So your pedigree is based upon your father. Let's deal with this word pedigree in the Old Testament. See, instead of getting emotional, just go do the research, do the study. Go to the root words, the etymology. And that passage. Okay, pedigree. This is what I want, is pedigree. Let's see what pedigree means. Yalad. And by the way, the word yalad means boy in Hebrew. Bear, born, bring forth, bear, travail, midwife, begat, child, delivered, born, birth, labor. To bear, bring forth, begat, child, birth, born. Anyway, if you know Hebrew, the word for Yalad is a boy. The word for girl is Yaladah, which is the feminine sense of a boy. So that's all we need is Numbers 1 and 18, pedigree by their fathers. If a woman that's an Israelite that deals with any other nation, the sons are gonna come out with the spirit of that nation. Let's listen to a little bit more.
Okay, Dr. Wack, one of the moderators. We're gonna have one fucking calm yourself down.
We don't need to all the name calling. Cap is here. I expect the request him to be here. You can't handle the conversation. It's too intellectual, but you can just drop yourself to the goo, because up here everybody's having a respectful conversation. brought up the brother.
And yeah, Captain Tazaryach was respectful. Faithful to God was not respectful, and this other guy is not respectful. But anyway, I think I proved my point. You can watch the rest of this. There's no need for me to watch it. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.